Started. Jackie, we had quorum, and the report was posted of the agenda.
Yes,
Announcements of any changes.
no, not really.
Okay. That's it.
Hurry, we could barely see you down here.
Other comment? I didn't see any forms. Oh, consent calendar.
Second.
Have a motion second. I have nobody up here, right?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Let's see. Jackie, I think, let's see, action items,
Okay,
fiber network.
okay, so this was going to be, I guess this is one change to the agenda. But it is a discussion item.
Okay.
As you know, and for the last several years, we've been really waiting for marketing on the fiber network. What we wanted was we wanted to connect to city halls, want to connect all the public agencies, and then we wanted to expand into businesses, your small businesses, and see what we can do to create a real network that provided services throughout the South Bay. Unfortunately, we've been very unhappy about it because the company in the partnership that was supposed to do the marketing was not doing the marketing. We had many conversations with the owner in the last couple of years. It opened up in August 2020. In about the last 2 years, he's been wanting to sell. And he had one possible sale that we did not think was in the best interest of the South Bay as your staff. And we asked so many questions that the sale didn't go through, which was fine with us. And now there is a sale, and it is a company that we think will really help us expand and the fiber network and provide really good services to your cities, your constituents, your small businesses. We're pretty excited about it. So what we're doing, I thought today, the reason this was an action item is there actually is a requirement for any sale to be approved by our board. And we do not have the purchase agreement yet. If we have it at the board meeting, I'd like to bring it to the board meeting. But we do have all of the letters of intent. We know what they're trying to accomplish. We know what they want to do. And so this afternoon at 3:30, we're actually meeting, and you can stay if you'd like. We're meeting with the IT directors because we really want to talk to them about the success of this is going to be all of us working together to make it successful and help this new owner get into the South Bay. So I'm going to ask, the reason why we think it's going to be so good is the way that they're planning to operate and what they're doing. So I wanted to ask Wally and Jake to give more details. And as I told them, I will jump in whenever I want to.
As I can.
Because I can, right. Wally, why don't you start?
Well, that's unheard of to me. But I think I can cope with it. Yeah, I made 2 presentations on the last couple of meetings. And look, I'm not naive. This is not an issue that really all get your arms around because you're dealing with really important stuff like homeless and retirement expenses and so forth. Nevertheless, it is probably one of the most important things you'll deal with in the next year or two. So as I said in one of my presentations, I showed you the storefront, the homeless house or whatever it was, where Jan Vogel and Liz and Jackie and I met to talk about digital stuff. So our first mission, I mean, where we came down was, hey, we found out we could save the city a lot of money, and we did that. So we created a network and an institutional reality that saved you money. And my own calculation was, had you all been taking high bandwidth services at the time, which you weren't, so this is not a real number, but you would have saved over $600,000 in the years that we put together this initial network, the fiber network. So it's a lot of money that was saved. We succeeded in our mission. However, for the last couple of years, because of the things that Jackie was just talking about, which is that the the institution that we hired, the public-private partnership, had a weak link in it, which was the internet service provider, the ISP. And so we were confessing the owner, American Dark Fiber, to do something about it, and that just didn't work, or didn't work, or didn't work. So where we wanted to go was to take this fiber network beyond saving the money into a tool that would serve to develop the digital economy around small business in particular, the anchor institutions, the so-called based organizations that deliver services, and to help the municipal corporation digitize themselves and move into a higher level of productivity, because it's really clear. In fact, no less than Bill Fulton, one of the big regionalists, was talking at SCAG the other day and said, using digital tools to become more efficient is the key to the survival of municipal corporation. And I would urge you to take that seriously, especially with AI upon us and so forth. And I've even been using AI in some of my searches as opposed to Google, and it's phenomenal. It's also scary, but it's also but I'm urging you to take this stuff seriously, because it is what we're going to talk about here is probably, it's for sure more important than any Measure M investment you would make in transit or in rail. This is the real thing. This is the future of the South Bay. So I know that it's not on your radar exactly, but it is true that it is this important. We're trying to move it from saving you money into becoming a tool that will help you be better managed, help small business thrive, and generally help make the future of the South Bay more sustainable and resilient. That's what we're trying to do now. And after a 2-year search, we went through, as Jackie said, we went through one potential ownership change, and it was really awful. A bunch of suits trying to take over the whole thing. We're now working with a group that is really compatible with what we want to do. They want to see us own the thing at the end of the time, so that we can lower the rates even more. They're community oriented, well managed, not a brand name like AT&T you would recognize, but they're really good people. We vetted them. We've been at this for 2 years, and this is where we've come down. One of the most significant innovations is we're moving from a single internet service provider to a platform that is called an open network, which means it's a software platform in which there are many ISPs on it. We call them retail service providers, so that there's competition. So when you, as a consumer, log on to this, you'll have a choice of whether you want to go with AT&T or, because if they're on our network. The fact is, the network ownership is being separated from the internet service provider, and this is a movement that's happening across the United States now. In fact, the rumor is that some of the big companies like AT&T want to sell their network so they can concentrate on just being service delivery on somebody else's network. That's where the service comes in, is not so much with the fiber itself. So Jake, why don't you talk a little bit about Woven and the open network and let everybody know how important it is.
So why
don't you stand up?
common success story in the open access models is a company or JPA out of Utah called Utopia. And they have a great analogy for what an open access network is. They like to look at it as an ice cream store. So the South Bay Fiber Network is the physical storefront. You come in, you're under our branding, you're buying from us. However, you can choose to get chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Those are the different ISPs, the different internet service providers. And a result of having all of those ISPs under one brand and one banner, you drive down the prices. And so the networks need to differentiate themselves. And what we've been seeing across the nation is the way they do that is phenomenal customer service, high reliability, and access to trainings and different programs. The open access model really promotes the competitiveness in the market that helps the consumer. And so the Woven platform, which is through the company called Arcadis, which would be the part of the operators of the system, is almost like a marketplace, like Amazon. So you can go on there and say, I want this amount of gigs, this for this amount of use. And I have, let's say, 5 people in my family, and it will show you all the network, all the ISPs available on our network. You can compare prices, you can get multiple quotes. So instead of just being stuck with, oh, the only ISP that serviced me on the peninsula is Cox, and they aren't the most reliable. Their wait time when I needed service was a high time. You can choose, let's say, a mom and pop ISP out of Torrance or out of Redondo Beach. So not only does it spur the local economy and provide local internet service providers a chance to compete with these large incumbents, because there's kind of that race to the bottom in terms of pricing, it allows them to differentiate themselves by providing better customer service and reliability. And so this platform, Woven, is part of what this deal is about, will allow all of these different ISPs to have a place, as well as RSPs, which is what Wally said is retail service providers. So say instead of you wanting to buy this big expensive bundle that comes with cable, comes with a streaming service and internet, say that you just need telehealth. And Kaiser or Beach Cities Health Districts has a platform for $20 a month. And you can bundle that with your Wi-Fi and get direct retail service providers, which connect directly to portals of your services and your needs that you have. So you can directly tailor what it is you are purchasing and who it is from. So it's like a food court in a sense where you can get a little bit from this, a little bit from that, rather than committing to a single restaurant and you are stuck with what they offer.
Yeah, and the opportunity that Jake is referring to, for example, Torrance Memorial could become a retail service provider with their own, as if they were an internet provider on our network. So could any small business cluster, chambers of commerce could do it. Want to get as many locals on there. The empirical experience has been that you get almost universal subscription to this network. This is where it's been tried. More people subscribe to it. So right now the uptake is maybe 30 to 40% when you drive fiber down a road somewhere to get consumers to businesses and residents. Because there's so many ISPs or retail service providers on it, you tend to get closer to 100% uptake. It's the investment in the fiber more cost effective because more folks are subscribing to it because the competition and the number of opportunities that are on to change from, like, I have Spectrum and it's awful. Anyway, well, I'm just saying. So we're going to bring better service. We're going to try and get into business clusters initially, our CBOs, our anchors for the digital equity portion of it, and then eventually into residential neighborhoods. So that's the plan, and you'll meet, I think, Brent Grisdale, not today, but he'll come at another.
Brent is going to be, Brent Grisdale is the owner of the RSG Solutions, which is the company that's buying. And he is, nobody's on, and he is in Canada. And that's the other thing that you should know. These companies, this is starting in like the United States, for example, as Jake said, Utopia is very well known for this. But this company is coming into the United States, wants to use us and I think another one in Northern California as models so that they can do a good job and get more business and really create a market for themselves. So we're thinking that that gives them incentive, gives us incentive. It's not going to work. And the reason why we have your IT directors coming is I talked to Brent this morning, and he's talking about wanting to meet with every single city, finding out what every single city wants to do and have a plan for each city as well as a plan for the South Bay. And then we need to work together to say, this is the area we want you to go into. This is the kind of marketing. This is what my constituents want. So we want to make it very tailored to what your cities identify as their needs. And then, as I said at the Transportation Committee, it also helps us. He will be involved, and Arcadis, which is the consultant that does Woven, is already looking at transportation projects in the South Bay to see where fiber can be laid, and we can start owning this network ourselves and reaping all of the funding from it. So that's where we're going, and it's really very exciting because it's where the future is going. It's not. It's going to be. We can supercharge the South Bay with really high speed and bring destinations to us instead of us having to go to destinations.
Yeah, so please pay attention to this now. I know it's not been on your radar. I can tell. But also,
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, pay attention to it for not only for the network and building what we're doing, but also for your own use. And Gardena in particular has done a really good job. Your IT director, Rodney, has been superb to work with. And So we're looking forward to bring everybody into this tent and seeing you all become really effective users of digital technology.
I should say that we did have a meeting with Alex Pinto, who was the Gardena IT director, who was one of the stars in the South Bay, as far as an IT director, and also Councilman Mark Henderson, who is an IT, that's his real life, is IT. And so we presented the whole thing to them and wanted to get their perspective. So this is going to be a big part of our agenda for next year. I want to explain that it's not going to be, we're not going to snap our fingers. I was telling Jake, and I don't know if Ronson knows this, but when we got homeless money, there was a councilman who's no longer here, who 3 months later asked me, why are there still homeless people on the street? It doesn't happen that fast, and this won't happen that fast. But this is the direction we're going in. And so if you could please, bear with us, get your city involved so that when we send out a notice, if you hear of things happening in your city, like a company coming, we would want to know that so we could tell them about the open platform, those kinds of things. So anyway, any questions that anybody might have?
Is the cost the same?
The cost won't change for cities at all. And in our contract with them, we're supposed to have costs would remain the same, or if we can get more multiples, it actually will go down.
Okay.
As the
And-
network expands and as part of the plan to shift ownership back to the council of government, we'd be able to drive that cost down, especially for the cities.
And the other thing that might happen is if we are not an operating agency,
Right.
the COG hasn't been. We can be, but another thing that might evolve out of this in the next year or so is whether we want to create a parallel sister joint powers authority that would just run this network. And it's too early to say where we're going, but that also is out there.
With that,
Yes.
okay.
So, and what we're gonna do, is we want to have had an IT directors committee in the 19, as we're developing the network, we want to reestablish it. And anybody that, if we wanted a board committee or anything, that would be, something that you could all go and meet with the IT directors. Just for, I don't know if Ray Jackson knows this, but Michael Keegan was actually the chair of our IT committee many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Keegan is coming back.
Oh, really?
So,
In costume, however.
so we might get him involved. Okay, that's,
Agenda development.
oh, okay, the agenda board.
Here's Zane. Hi, Zane.
Let's see.
Zane missed our whole big announcement here.
He was on the Zoom.
Oh, you were listening?
on the Zoom.
Hey, Zane, you
Yeah,
don't.
he was up there for a little bit.
Okay.
About Michael Keegan?
No.
Yeah.
What was the big announcement? I must have missed it.
Oh, about the South Bay Fiber Network.
Oh, right. I did listen to all.
Okay. Okay, so, some interesting things to tell you about discussion. First of all, don't forget that, you won't forget Thanksgiving, but that means you have to remember that we meet a week before Thanksgiving on November 21st. We have, the volunteer recognition at that time, where we're going to be meeting with our, volunteers and recognizing the ones that have done the most hours. We're going to have, I've invited Brent and the other team from the fiber network to come and actually make this a real presentation to the board on where we're going in. And I really would like what I've asked is that they give us an idea of what the next 6 months to a year looks like, so we can understand the rollout of this new network. I don't know, I put election follow-up, but I don't know that was really for Ronson, really for Measure A, but Measure A is passing. So I'm not sure that we need to discuss anything at the board meeting about the election. Because I think that we were.
Not this soon, but I think we will though, because it does have implications on our city sales taxes.
Okay,
So we might do a presentation on what our cities can do,
okay,
because that quarter-cent is now expiring.
right,
And so it leaves a hole in our city's
except,
sales tax.
okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, November 7th, which is tomorrow, is a ribbon cutting at the Crenshaw 182nd Street project. Rodney will be there for us, but you're all invited to come. If you're interested, it's 11 o'clock tomorrow, and I have I don't know where.
I can.
If you're interested, ask David. On December fourth is going to be the South Bay Awards Lunch. We are already getting RSVPs. We'd love every city to attend. It's our lunch that we had, same as last year, where we're going to recognize cities for their energy efficiency accomplishments. It's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Nakaoka Center in Ardena.
We have 40 RSVPs already.
Yeah, so please make sure your city is. Then I have something that sounds to me like it's gonna be really interesting. This just came up. On December 6th, Friday, December 6th, 10 to 2, Dr. Lucy Jones, the Dr. Lucy Jones Center, I'm gonna read this, is inviting you to a special tour with Dr. Jones of the Newport Inglewood Fault through the South Bay on December 6th by bus from 10:30 to 2. It's including a light lunch. Space is obviously very limited, so registration is required. The Newport Inglewood Fall Tour, which will be led by her, will travel from Baldwin Hills through the South Bay, visiting vulnerable infrastructure and viewing key utilities. We'll explore the movement and how this fault will affect the infrastructure. There will be an opportunity to walk with Dr. Jones to sites off the bus. During the bus travel time, there will be an opportunity to hear Dr. Jones' personal reflections, ask her questions, delve into strategies for earthquake and climate resilience in communities across Southern California. In addition to highlighting the impacts of earthquakes, the tour will elaborate how climate change is impacting Southern California. Climate change is increasing the rate and severity of natural disasters resulting from atmospheric conditions, including landslides, an increase in extreme heat waves, wildfires, severe storms, and flooding. With an understanding of these risks, by viewing local examples of the impacts, attendees will be able to advance community resilience building. And she's saying to please email her, but I think that you probably should email us so I can figure out who's going, and also the Brown Act, and I don't know, if you've got more people. I just got this an hour ago, which is why you haven't heard about it, and I'll be sending it out. But it's December 6th, and obviously you can see space is limited, so it should be a really interesting afternoon. And that just came up. And that's all I have on board events, unless you want, that, oh, wait a second, I was just gonna say Jose Salachi just won assembly seat, which means the AQMD seat is up. I imagine you all know somebody, there is somebody running, I thought, but nobody from the South Bay, as best as I know. So,
Somebody from Long Beach.
They've already announced it. Oh.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I heard this a long time ago, actually. No, they've been talking about it for since the primary, actually. So we can invite at some point the new AQMD rep, but I'm gonna take that off because. And then Ronson might at some point.
Maybe you could come and see Assemblyman.
Well, he's not our assemblyman, though. He's very far away.
He's a star now.
Yeah. So we might want to invite, as Measure A gets more baked, we might want to invite our John Marish or somebody to come talk about what they see as the rollout.
Right.
Also, possibly touring the Redondo Beach Project Home Key site now that it's up and open.
Oh.
That might be a good idea too, and especially since Carson has one pending, and then I think there might be others in our cities.
Okay.
Any word from Karen Bass? You've got her at the top of the list. In fact,
Oh, she
it's a board meeting.
She had accepted August and then declined, and I haven't done anything about it since. She was at that meeting that we had on the 28th of October in Redondo Beach. To Redondo Beach Project only. Okay, so that's all I have, and then I guess for invoices.
I just had one other
Oh, I'm sorry.
patient. I was contacted by somebody that's working with the Harbor UCLA renovation. They're doing a lot of work on that campus. Is that something that the board would like a little overview on at some future meeting?
I think it's,
I personally would.
yeah,
I think that would be good information.
We can invite them maybe in January, Harbor UCLA. And then I
It's
also,
really big.
Yeah, they're gonna do, he wanted to do like a 5-minute intro at the IWG meeting next week. And I told him that he's gonna do that, but the board might be more broadly interested.
Right.
They're putting a lot of mental health beds, so that would be.
Oh, interesting.
The what?
They're putting a lot of mental health beds in there.
Mhm.
You
But
know,
this was gonna be an environment. And that's where they're
It
putting.
wasn't Lundquist, no, this is not UCLA.
Oh,
This is Harvard. University.
Harbor. Oh, I'm sorry.
And,
Medical center.
was it wasn't Lundquist in.
This is some
Oh, place.
outreach on in support of the county public works, who's building the.
Maybe you can also ask for, Lundquist had said they might want to make a presentation. You might want to ask them to come and talk about what they're doing at the same site.
You have a contact.
Yes.
oh, and UCLA just bought something today at Del Air. They're building a sports facility there, healthcare and sports. Yeah,
In Bel Air?
no, Del Air,
Oh, Delaware.
Yeah.
That's county.
but it's in our area.
Wow.
Observation.
Interesting.
Um,
Is that Harvard?
did I have any, I don't think I have anything else then.
Invoices.
So invoices.
I've heard that
Mhm.
one.
Invoices are going around.
You want to wait on the invoices?
We should. I think.
We saw.
On that way.
The invoices,
Yes, they've been left. They've gone around.
motion to approve.
I so move.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I
Anyone not in favor can pay the bills.
abstain, just because I didn't get to review them.
Okay. Got one abstention. Okay. Move on.
It's gonna be a very fast meeting.
How about, REAP?
Okay, REAP, the housing feasibility, trust feasibility study. Selection process is ongoing. We have, I think we had a pre-proposal conference with 4 to 6 proposers.
There is, I think, 6 or 7 people there representing, I think, 5 different
Firms. Yeah, so it looks like this is the one where we're gonna ask a consultant to come in. Look at how viable and feasible a housing trust would be for the South Bay. It becomes very interesting with Measure A, because there will be money coming to the county now for a regional housing trust, and 7%, a fraction of that will have to be shared between the South Bay and the West Side. So there will be some small source of money at some point. We don't know when. Anyway, that it's due back. Do you remember, David, when? It's due back November,
I think.
something like November 18th. And then the way we backed up the selection process so that by your December meeting, which is, the steering committee acts as the board at that meeting, we will have a recommendation for a consultant on December 10th. So we can get the housing. Well, we can't start the study because SCAG hasn't given us a go ahead. But the minute, as of December 10th, if you authorize us to go forward, the minute we get approval from SCAG, we'll have a consultant in play. We're also looking at the commercial redevelopment into housing and neighborhood mobility hubs. And Wally is considering doing a lot of the neighborhood mobility hubs in-house. So we're sort of holding off on a consultant, but the RFP for the commercial redevelopment. Wally, do you know where we are on any of that?
Yeah, mobility hubs are a well-known phenomenon. There's a lot of research on it. And the first task from CAC, the first task in our scope of work is to do a literature review. Well, it turns out, coming out of the woodwork, is SCAG has been looking at this and design of them, and also Metro. So I think our work, and I've spoken to Jake about it, and Jake is like the Swiss Army knife of policy. Can do anything and do it well. So we decided between us, we think we can do the literature review with the assistance of all the SCAG work that's been done and the Metro work. And if we need something on the end of that, the big issue is just finding places. And given the fact that we've been looking for neighborhood centers for a couple of years, the idea of even finding public property has become very difficult. And Jackie can tell war stories about how we found ideal places and then the government agency wouldn't let us use it for obscure reasons, but we can't do it. So anyway, the big thing is to understand what we're looking for. What are the parameters? What's the size? What are the services going to be offered? Do we need a building on site? And so forth. And again, the issue here is to use the fiber network to bring destinations closer to residents, and then to use micromobility to connect them from wherever they are to where those services are now located. So like, I was at the car wash the other day, and I mean, not the car, I was at a gas station on a Sunday afternoon, and it was like a community center. There were people washing their car. There was a car wash. There's like a 7-Eleven there with banking functions inside of it. I mean, the network itself comes into that facility. It makes it so you can get cash withdrawals and so forth. And there's a card reader that you put your card in. I mean, it's a combined digital service center. And that's what we're looking at with the mobility concept is that.
The wall, I threw it up. That's what you're talking about, right? That shared.
Yeah, that's the overlap between the digital, the fiber network and the local travel network. And what we're trying to do is insert into the local travel network places where you would change modes, or you could go from a golf cart to a full speed vehicle to go to Pasadena if you wanted, catch a transit bus if that's what you want to do. Not a lot of people do that, but you never know. Anyway, that's the overlap. This is conceptually where we're trying to go with it. And that's, so anyway, the point Jackie was trying to ask me to, gotta be careful, don't give me a microphone.
She didn't.
That we're gonna try and do, and most of it in-house, because I think it's manageable. If not, well, then we'll go out for.
And where are we with the consultant study on the commercial development?
Yeah, well, that one's a little harder because I wanna, the commercial redevelopment, because it has to be linked to housing. And Jackie, you can say something about what SCAG is requiring in terms of every city council gets a presentation on what it is we're doing.
No, it's taken us a while because SCAG was requiring us to get the cities to say in advance that they'd approve. I said, city can't even do that. I mean, you have to go planning commission, all kinds of things. And so SCAG put in language that I think we can live with. I couldn't get them. It just says that the recommendation has to include actionable recommendations. Well,
So,
we'll give you something and it'll say, please, whatever. But it doesn't say that you have to do it. It just says it's a recommendation to do it. And so I fought with them for like several weeks on this. And so we have something ready. Now we need the RFP, but we still also don't have a notice to proceed there either.
We'll say more about this as we get further down the line. I think the housing trust is something that's more immediate.
Right.
After that, the mobility hubs, and then we'll get to the commercial.
But we have a time crunch because it's got to be done by June of 2026.
Well,
2026? Yes. 20.
we'll all be older.
like 12, 18 months. It's 18 months, yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Kim?
Yeah, so I have several things to see. You said that you have lots of time on the agenda now, so we're all gonna talk a long time. So first of all, I wanted to let you know that we got LA County sanitation districts join the SoCal REN program. This allows them to be able to access all of the free resources from that agency. They can implement energy efficiency projects. The sanitation districts is very forward thinking anyway. They have power plants that actually run, they produce their own power, right? So they're technically, some of them not even on the grid, right? Because they have the organic waste capture and then turn that into fuel. But a lot of their actual buildings that are around, including the South Bay, don't have a lot of improvements that have done. So we'll be able to help them with those improvements. And so we're getting very close to having almost every single public agency enrolled in the SoCal REN. And we'll be like one of the, probably the only area that can bring this together. So we have 3 more school districts that we need to bring on, which is Inglewood School District, Wiseburn, and Lawndale. I need them on. And then we'll only have one other larger public agency, which is West Basin. And with that, we've pretty much brought everybody on that can take advantage of these programs. This is all important because also, Jackie, you don't know about this. The governor just recently signed an executive order in 5/24 that to address the affordability crisis to electricity rates. And so we had talked a few months back about the legislator was looking at taking some of the energy efficiency funds. And so what happened was the governor actually took action. And what he wants done is he directed the CPUC to look at the things that are costing the utility bills to be so high. Like, how are you managing wildfire issues, for example? Because a lot of the ratepayer dollars is going to offset some of those infrastructure issues related to wildfire. He also asked for a cost effectiveness review of all the current programs and any funds that are not being used to be returned to ratepayers in the form of credits. He also wants them to identify other funding sources like federal, which that probably won't happen. But what it means to the cities is one, the county will have to redefine their budgets in 2026. So right now we have all these energy efficiency funds, programs that I've been talking to you about to take advantage of, like the energy action plans. And it's going to have to all be reevaluated in 2026, and it was originally going to be an 8-year program. So there's effort there, and we could potentially lose funds there. So what cities need to do really is implement programs right now. Anything that we have available, we need you to get on it and, implement. So it's the heat pump water heaters, it's HVAC units, all of those kinds of energy programs. So our team will be reaching out to all the cities to help do this. Okay, so to let you know that, then we have several new programs that are coming on board. We were able to secure membership for the California Green Business Network certification program for all cities, for all businesses in the South Bay. And so this was a special program that's available to businesses to help them become more efficient. It actually touches everything: energy efficiency, water conservation, waste reduction. Then our team goes out, engages the businesses, and helps them take advantage of incentives. So we bring all of our programs partners together. There's gas savings, there's incentive monies, like all of those kinds of things. So, but there was a membership cost to this. Some cities took advantage of it. Torrance was involved. El Segundo had a program. The beach cities have a program. Hermosa Beach and Manhattan Beach both have programs. And Torrance had a program. The Torrance, El Segundo, and Hawthorne had a program. Programs didn't receive funding. They used to be able to get funding directly from the state. They didn't get those funds, and so those programs kind of died. The SoCal RIN now has come in, and we worked with them to secure membership so that all the cities can participate in this program. And then our team has funds then to go out and help businesses within your city become more sustainable. So hopefully saving them money. So that's exciting. And then new business programs will actually be released in 2025 at the beginning, probably Q1 2025. So we'll be reaching out. Sometimes we had Barry might remember this. We did business walks with elected officials. So we can organize some of that if you guys want to do business walks also with our team. And then we will also be doing the direct install for disadvantaged communities for residential units, starting in also Q1 2025. So we'll be in the field a lot, going out and helping people access these resources. And the last thing was these energy resiliency center action plans is actually what it's called. We have a few cities that can take advantage of this. Gardena is one of them. Torrance is one. Lomita is actually going to participate, and Hawthorne. And it's an analysis of the city facilities to identify opportunities for resiliency centers. And the services are free. There is a little bit of staff time that's required, maybe a couple hours a month, maybe for like a 12-month period, just to review documents, and also to, if they want some kind of a special presentation to your committees or your commissions, that kind of thing, or even to your council meetings. And then we, of course, would be available to do that. So again, all of these things, I would say, take advantage of it while you can. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. And hopefully, our cities will become even more cost effective with their energy use. So any questions on all those things?
Is something like they're about to replace some stadium lights or not field lights at a park with LEDs? Does that like move the needle at all in terms of?
Yeah, that might qualify for outdoor lighting incentive. So if you want to have your staff contact us, we can see what is available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when in doubt, just ask.
Yeah.
The worst they can say is no.
Yeah, because we do find a lot of cities, because they're having to be reactive, right? If your HVAC unit goes down or anything like that, then they don't get, they go ahead and move forward, and then we don't know about it, and then they miss an opportunity. And sometimes they don't make a decision that allows them to get the incentive. And if it just had been like a little bit more efficient, we could have gotten them something. So if you see anything that comes through your council or you see a draft of anything, please reach out to us so we can see if we can find some money for you.
Bronson?
Right. Just on that note, on the climate stuff. Sure. So October 28th, Mayor Bass, council member Nitya Raman from LA City, as well as Supervisor Barger came to our area to talk about climate resiliency centers. They're trying to make a big push for more regional climate resiliency centers. I think there's like a fear that if there's something, a disaster does happen, like we'll be over reliant on LA City's climate resiliency infrastructure. And so they're really pushing for our regions to beef up our climate resiliency centers. So it was really well attended. We had a really great discussion. Some of the people we invited in addition to the electeds are your police and fire, public works, parks and rec, senior centers, homeless teams, emergency departments. We really view this as an all hands on deck initiative. And and then we also, I think, Jackie and Kim did a great job of defining the South Bay vision for this, because I think it's different than what the county and this LA City is kind of looking at. And Wally touched on this too, is we view these resiliency centers as an all encompassing thing. So they're a cooling center, they're a resiliency hub, they're a climate resiliency center, they're a mobility hub, they're a digital access center. So you imagine like with the disaster does occur, you know, people have a place to go where they can get their communication, they can get distribution of blankets and food. So we want it to be a true neighborhood center. And like Wally mentioned, we want to bring in all the other things we're working on, like the digital fiber, the local travel network, to these access centers. And the red dots, they're just hypothetical areas where we want to have these resiliency centers spread out, so that they can be accessed through our local travel network and have access to the digital fiber network.
We should say that, I know for those of you that were there or not there, we made a presentation, we talked about the COG. This is our only chance. We had Mayor Bass, we had Daphne Barger and Nithya Raman. And so it wasn't exactly on their radar that we do what we did, but we took the time to really explain all of our programs and how we don't look at silos, we look at how we can combine the programs together.
Those red dots on the, I mean.
Yeah.
The red dots on the map, are they like specific sites or just ideas of locate areas, region, you know, where we could have a climate resilience center?
Wally, I think they're just hypothetical, right? Because you made this map. And yeah, so they're just hypothetical.
There's no like property specifically that you've identified that could
Oh,
serve.
we so wish there was.
Oh, okay,
It's so
all right.
hard to find.
Wally's been trying to work with it, like he's been talking to like churches, nonprofits, and as well as, you know, and so that's kind of what our next steps are. We're looking to do a survey to all the attendees in our cities to have them think about climate resiliency in their cities. There is an ask, you know, Mayor Bass had an ask, which is, you know, for our cities to take a look at your assets, your inventory, to see if there are opportunities for a neighborhood hub in your city, whether it's like a library or a senior center or something like that, that we can maybe use. And then we're also looking at Caltrans properties in the South Bay. And so we've identified 2 pretty large locations. And we're going to be working with them as well, and maybe get Karen Bass to write a letter to the state to help us acquire those properties. So that's that. And then to Functional Zero, we had a huge meeting or a celebration on October 30th. It was a great event to reward Redondo Beach's efforts the past 7 years to getting their street homelessness population down to Functional Zero. Very well attended. Ray was there, Zane, bunch of folks, Supervisor Mitchell gave a really good speech. Bernadette was the MC. Good job, Bernadette. Some other pictures, Zane talking to the police officers, thanking them for their support on Functional Zero. We had Inglewood via Nzoma, Cinder from Torrance, and Cinder from Inglewood, and then Paige accepted the award on behalf of Redondo Beach. We also had the governor's office. Hafsa, the lady in the middle, she is Governor Newsom's senior advisor on homelessness. and Bashesh is our rep. They've been really great in terms of communicating with us, what the governor's plans are on various issues, not even just homelessness. And so they've been really supportive of our efforts and just communicating with us. With that, I wanted to have Colleen hit cleanup and talk about media that we got in light of the Dodger news last week.
Yes, so while the Dodgers were having their own World Series, we also had a home run, a media home run with our Functional Zero event. As you saw, we had a lot of press there, and we had actually been talking to reporter Doug Smith of the LA Times back in July. He reached out to us regarding the pledge that we were working on. And so we drafted our Functional Zero press release and sent it to him, leveraging the conversation. And just to give you a sense, the media relations sometimes takes a lot of patience. So he visited Redondo Beach multiple times, did multiple interviews with Lila Omura and Valerie Campos, Mike Webb, Joy Ford, and Ronson. He did a couple of ride-alongs with Lila and Valerie. So his story actually posted on the LA Times website on the 29th, which was perfect timing. It was the day before our event, so it generated more buzz for our event. And we also put out a media alert for that. And so as you can see, you want to go to the next slide. We had a whole line of press in the back, and we had KTLA, KNX, KCAL, ABC, Easy Reader, Spectrum News, Telemundo, and KFI. And so I was running around asking them if they needed interviews. And if you want to go to the next slide, you can see we had a lot of interviews that day with various people that were involved in the Functional Zero initiative. So as a result of that, we are a small organization, so we don't have subscription to monitor and track some of that coverage. So there's no way we can really see a lot of it unless we happen to catch it on the news. But we did catch the Spectrum News piece, and so we're going to show that to you.
So this is what you'll see first is Valerie, and really for me personally, Valerie is why I do this. Like people like her, she has a really great story, and just check it out.
It's not a video.
It's embedded in the.
Oh, there it
There
is.
it goes. There it is.
Oh no.
No.
Hey.
Very well.
Just do ask me.
That's later.
5 free.
Okay.
Ask later, yeah.
She's hoping to be a life raft for the unhoused in Redondo Beach. Every day, Valerie Campos goes out and connects with people sleeping outside.
Can I check on you tomorrow, maybe?
For 48-year-old Valerie, this work is deeply personal. She says she grew up in and out of homelessness, battled alcohol addiction, and in 2020 ended up here, sleeping on the Redondo Beach pier.
This is where I used to sleep, all here. Every person out here is broken. Some way that's all heartache, it's all heart. They got their heart broken somehow, some way.
Now, Valerie says she's working to help mend those broken hearts and mend what many see as a broken homelessness system. Today, Valerie works for Harbor Interfaith, the program that got her off the streets. They're one piece of a puzzle that the city says has gotten Redondo Beach to functionally zero homelessness. On Wednesday, the city gathered to celebrate this achievement and share their learnings. Functionally zero homelessness means the number of people who move into housing is greater than the number of people falling into homelessness over a 6-month period. LA County Supervisor Holly Mitchell, whose district includes Redondo Beach, says the rest of the county can learn from this.
But it's building an ecosystem that completely envelops their unhoused to provide the supports they need to not only get housed, but to stay housed.
In 2017 in Redondo Beach, there were 261 homeless people on the streets. As of July this year, there were 25. It's cost the city close to $7 million to get to functionally zero homelessness, and most of that funding has come from grants, some of which are used to build housing, like these pallet shelters. Ronson Chu is South Bay City's senior project manager for homeless services. He says one of the biggest lessons he hopes the rest of the county takes away from this project is to tackle the homelessness crisis on a smaller scale, city by city.
If you take all those cities and take the average of homelessness, it's between 150 to 300. So I think we should, as a county, stop thinking about this as a 75,000 people problem, because that's the homeless county in LA County. If everyone just focused on their own community, which is 150 to 300 people, that's not a big number.
Valerie says she knows how powerful that approach is because she's lived it. Today, after going through a rehab program and working with case managers, she has a job she loves and her own apartment. These are pictures she's taken to send to friends.
Like, tears run down my face. Like, sometimes I cannot believe, like, this is my life now.
Now helping pull others and possibly the entire county out of homelessness. No longer adrift herself.
Nice. One of the things they didn't mention in that presentation for Valerie, actually, and she shared this publicly before, is that she's actually been estranged from her daughter, who's now like a young adult, for most of her life, because was an alcoholic and was in and out of her daughter's life and has kind of failed her daughter so many times. And so, I mean, can you just imagine her daughter seeing this and being so proud of her mom? And that's really what.
Still estranged, or they're
They're working on it. They're working on it. But you know, it's just a lot of trust needs to be built. So
The other thing that I think is important is that Ronson, like nobody else, has come up with this idea of breaking it down to 150 to 200, whatever, 300 people. And he told that to Holly Mitchell, who said she was going to take
Whole
it and
county.
use it. So I think that he's given everybody a manageable way to think about homelessness and all actually make a contribution to solving.
right, and then so I do have some of those numbers up there. First, the next cities we're going to do are Torrance, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa Beach. Some are other priority areas, even though they haven't officially signed on to our Hawthorne, because they have a pallet shelter there too. I really want to do Wilmington because I think we can do Wilmington because LA City has a lot of resources. West Athens, I really want to do an unincorporated area, just to do an unincorporated area. And then also the rest of the South Bay, obviously. But the breakdown, if you took the average of the 86 cities, so you take out LA City and Long Beach, the average in 86 cities in LA County is 120 people. It's not a lot. If you look at the unincorporated areas, 56 people. And then even if you break down LA City to its neighborhoods, like Westwood, Palm, San Pedro, it's 284. And so, you know, Redondo started with 261. So yeah, and they laid out the blueprint. So we can probably do the rest of all these cities in 5 years. So that's how we get to functional zero LA County. That's the idea.
That's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah, that was, I tell you, that was a great ceremony. I mean, it was, I didn't know Valerie's story. I mean, I've worked with her since I've been on council. And everyone knows how amazing she is, but I did not know her story till I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, this is, wow. You know, that doesn't put a face on the problem. So.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say was, by the way, she's so articulate too. I mean, her speech was amazing. You'd never imagine that this person was homeless.
Right.
Right. But I wanted to commend Ronson actually, because he's been doing a straight up kick-ass job on all of this stuff. I mean, even at the emceeing the climate resiliency discussion with the county, I made the misstep of saying something like, you know, do you really think Measure A is going to pass? Because a lot of what they were saying was reliant on Measure A passing. I said the COG didn't vote for it. And then Ronson very suavely stepped in and was like, but the COG didn't vote on any measures for the first time ever. So and obviously he's helped Redondo Beach get to where we are with functional zero. And you know, the COG recently helped. I said this at the Climate Resiliency Center, but there was a lady in the elderly care center, one of the elderly care facilities that where you live on your own, but it's for seniors, senior housing. And she got a 3-day pay or quit notice, was about to be homeless. And then they jumped in, COG folks, Bronson jumped in and saved her housing and got her whatever it is she needs to continue to live there. So wanted to commend them. On the Climate Resilience Center, I was wondering how much notice do we have about this? It was really well put together. It really got, obviously, thank you for bringing it to Redondo Beach. It got us on the radar of, by us, I mean the South Bay, on the radar of those supervisors who don't govern here, which is awesome, and the mayor. So, but I was concerned because we've never discussed it at the steering committee, never discussed it at the board, I don't think, unless it slipped my mind. And one of the statements you made, Jackie, in the discussion was, you know, they asked, what do you envision at your climate resilience centers? And she went through a long list of things I'm sure we'd all agree on, and then got to printers, and then 3D printers, and 3D printers so people can, you know, make their own jewelry or something like that. And I'm just like, maybe that's just a misstep, and that's fine, but I wish that we would have discussed, you know, what kinds of things we all envision to have in the Climate Resilience Center before we start to make that kind of outward statement.
Well, okay, I think for years, we've been talking about the neighborhood center. And the neighborhood center, first of all, is going to be based on what the community wants. And so we have talked about 3D printing and economic development for communities. And so that wasn't anything new. I don't know if you.
If we could just come up with some other thing besides jewelry to sell 3D print.
It was an easy one. Yeah, I don't know. I just, but 3D printing a 3D printer in a community can create an economic development opportunity. And so people do sell jewelry with 3D printing. So it was the first thing I thought of, something you could sell in the community center.
Yeah, but Jackie, also the case studies in this thing, for example, during COVID, you know, some communities that had them were using 3D printing to create personal safety things like
Masks.
And stuff, yeah.
shields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The point is, it's a manufacturing opportunity for anybody to come in with their ideas and either build something or, in the extreme, develop software that could be sold to someone else. It's the idea of putting a little factory in the middle of the community for anybody.
And we've had it in all of our descriptions of neighborhood centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a new idea, but the
Yeah.
example, like, I take your point that.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if it's, you know, if we want to make a manufacturing hub, that would have been a little more understandable.
I want it to be sounding frivolous because.
But yeah, I mean, your point, it was actually put together really quickly. There was like a board motion like 8 weeks ago, maybe, and it was really led by Karen Bass, who really wanted the county to do this, and Barger signed on to it. And the page, so it was an executive committee meeting, regional convening. So the executive committee did this, but it was really weird too, because Paige is on the executive committee. She doesn't think she ever voted on a motion to do this. So it just happened.
They were going to they went to San Gabriel Valley and they went to Gateway before us. And I don't know, they went to North County as well. And the comments I got was that ours was the best one because we had more feedback. I think we had the largest number of people there. We had more feedback. We made a presentation, whereas other places didn't. You know, we really use this as an opportunity. And I'm not sure that Karen Bass had been to any of the others either. I think she only came to ours.
Well, she went to North County, but.
She did. And the other interesting thing to me, which was a little amazing, is we had to explain to like Nithya, I keep calling her Nithya Raman, that Tim McCosker was a member of our COG, and maybe she ought to let him know that they were planning this, you know, and did Janice and Holly Mitchell know, because they were coming into somebody's area. So it was all very fast and.
Yeah, and Mitchell wasn't even there, so it just was very disjointed.
It was weird.
And one thing I think they discussed was potentially having these climate resilience centers act as temporary shelters for people. You know, Paige was concerned, and I would be too. I'm sure Ronson would probably be about congregate housing. We know has not really worked, right? So if we do have backup housing in these facilities, like maybe they need to be dormitory style or like the way they are.
And Mitchell expressed that to me too, that she is more for non-congregate settings going forward, so.
And to Jackie's point and Mayor Bass, we got an email from
Yes.
Mayor Bass's office to follow up with us. So it resonated with her.
From their digital people, yeah. So we're in contact now with LA's digital people. We'll be meeting with them.
Well, good job.
I'm leaving LA Times story. I'm gonna pass it around if you want to take a look at it. While you're here.
I was gonna say that.
I haven't had a Hogan LA Times for about 20 years.
Yeah, we're Joey.
You're gonna be reading,
I know.
you're reading the Washington Post soon, moving to DC?
Yeah,
I'm not in the paper.
Yeah.
okay, Bronson, did you want to go on to the good neighbor pledge status?
Oh, we can save that update for later because we have to restart that.
But it's-
I know.
But I can give senior services update really quick.
We're not done with this yet, though. Because, okay, so on the good neighbor pledge, we sort of held off until after the election. And we still want to continue with that. Okay, and then on the possible Measure A election results, I guess what I want to say about this is one of the reasons that we were and are still actually concerned about Measure A is that there are two groups that are handling a tremendous amount of money that have not really said how they're going to handle it very well. One is the executive committee that Paige sits on, and the other is the Regional Housing Trust that John Marish from Beverly Hills sits on, and they're our representatives. And so we really have to pay attention to this as they roll it out and how they're going to make the
Yeah. Yeah, we still don't get
Yeah.
a lot of direct funding,
Yeah,
and the nonprofits have all the power, and it's just and I don't know, and I don't think they act in our interests really.
yeah. So it's not, this might not be the perfect solution everybody's been waiting for, but we're very loud voices. Ronson's a very loud voice and I always am, so we'll see what happens. And then I wanted to mention that Ronson, just so that you know this, we gave a certificate of appreciation to Jim
Oh, Gentian, yeah.
Tion, and he's the Senior Director of Community Health at Providence, Southern California, because they gave a $1.2 million contribution to the Torrance Shelter. So we gave him. a certificate. Okay.
Very nice.
He retired, and so we wanted to honor him. Yeah,
Nothing else, Ronson? Anything else?
that's it.
Okay, then Jake, we're back up to
You
you.
want me to do seniors really quick?
Oh, seniors, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So just a quick update, our agenda is not fully fleshed out yet, but we definitely want to talk about how the election will affect seniors. And so that meeting is going to be held the week after Thanksgiving, that Tuesday. So
26.
yeah, look out for that.
Okay. Okay, so Jake, now your turn with Local Travel Network and Ann on the status of e-bike safety in any local travel network.
No significant updates as far as network goes. We are exploring a Caltrans Sustainable Communities grant, looking at what projects could be eligible under that. And
yeah, so within our staff, we have been observing the legislation. So yes, the cycle closed and we observed that 2 counties in California passed e-bike pilot programs, one in Marin County and one in San Diego, that will impose age restrictions on e-bike riders. In Marin, it will be 16 and older for class 2, and then in San Diego, no e-bikes for anyone under the age of 12. And then what that will also allow law enforcement to do is to implement diversion programs when they issue a citation for a violation, to send that violator to complete e-bike safety training course instead of paying a fine. So we wanted to kind of, I guess, gauge your appetite, get your thoughts on if the COG is interested in pursuing something similar for LA County in the South Bay. What would happen is that should a bill like this pass, cities would opt into such a pilot program, choose to participate, and then adopt those restrictions or laws as an ordinance or a resolution. And it could be anything, it doesn't have to be age restriction. It could just be diversion. It could be something about helmets, anything on the floor.
And the idea is that if you're interested in this, we could try to get an author from one of our legislators as the new session starts. If you're not interested, it's a lot of work. So we wanted to stop here and see what your interest is.
Beach cities have a huge issue with these bikes.
And we have some pretty stringent rules, you know, if you have to have a helmet on. It's a $500 fine for not having a helmet on. You have to have, if you've got a passenger on the bike, that passenger also must have a helmet on, and the bike has to be equipped to handle more than one rider or passenger. And then if you're operating in an unsafe manner, we can confiscate the bike and an adult has to come and pick it up. So, you know, I think anything else we can get, you know, others to sign up for, if there's some state mandates, I think that helps everybody, I think, in the enforcement. I mean, e-bikes are a great thing, but there needs to be some sort of
Regulation.
I
think didn't Manhattan just do something about you have to have a permit to ride one to school?
Well, yeah, so we actually started that. So we worked with our school district and our PD. And in order to ride an e-bike, because no one rides a pedal bike anymore. So they ride e-bikes, but in order to park your bicycle at the school, then you have to go through a certification. And we had a couple of those sessions. We're going to have one right after Christmas because a lot of kids are going to get their bikes out right after Christmas. So other schools have adopted that. I think Redondo Beach is looking at that right now. I think the high school and Manhattan Beach picked that up as well. So it's good. It's, you know, at least gets the kids thinking, and you can actually see the difference when they're putting on their helmets now before they leave, and they're buttoning up their chin straps, and then more adults are saying, "Hey, Johnny, button your chin strap, dude. Put your helmet on."
Okay, so, but well,
Yeah, I just want to say a moment about the strategy. The reason this is a micro-mobility strategy is it includes scooters, e-bikes, golf carts, a range of things. And the answer, what you're seeing is the youth are the early adopters. And then, as we know about innovation diffusion, there's such a thing as laggards and early adopters and so forth. The kids are the early adopters. The answer to all of this is get the laggards into this, because the volume of people driving a golf cart or their own e-bike or a Segway scooter or whatever it is will in fact civilize the streets, in which were now been turned over to these early adopters that are young, immature, and it's kind of a problem. So the answer is, yeah, more regulations, sure, because it should be safe. There's also, get the hell everybody else on one of these things, and it'll take care of itself.
No, right. I mean, because people are giving up, man. I know a guy that gave up his second car. He bought a big e-bike that he can put his two little ones on the back.
And that's what the local travel network is.
Right. So it's great. I mean, so it's easier to visit some of these more densely populated areas where you can't find a parking spot. You can zip in, zip out. So, you know, the more we can do that, encourage that. And
if you know somebody like that and he wants to give us a testimonial, Ann will put it in one of our publications, because that's exactly what we're trying to do is when you give up when you're ready to get rid of that second, third, or fourth car, get an e-bike or get a neighbor electric vehicle or something slow. That's great.
I guess what I'm hearing from the group then is that you would like us to pursue an author?
I was actually hearing something else.
Oh, okay.
I was actually not, that you don't want us to go through all that work, but you want us to monitor the legislation that comes up. See legislation that we might want to tag on to, we can bring it back. But I don't know if you want us to actually generate something at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. Does that go with everybody? Okay, Jackie, stay on top of it. Okay, General Assembly.
David and I have been, a little project came up in the last couple of months that has kept us from the General Assembly. And so we're now like full speed ahead. And any of you that have ideas for speakers, what we'd really like is we'd like a big name speaker to come to the General Assembly, have lunch, celebrate the 30th anniversary, and just have a party. A nice party, but with a big keynote speaker. That would be the best. So I don't know if any of you, live next to a big movie star or something, I don't know. But somebody, some of you know, in climate or some of our programs. If you know of anybody, we really need that right now. And we're also starting our sponsorship. The sponsorship letter has gone out and sponsors, so please help us. And we have 2 sponsors so far, West Basin and
Caroline.
oh, oh, I knew it was Water Replenishment District. So I don't know if you want to, if anybody has any brainstorming right now, or if somebody you think would be good for the General Assembly.
Presidents.
Well, like, how about like, I don't know, just former electeds, like Garcetti or Sir, what's it, Zev? Is that
Yaroslavsky. Does that interest anybody here?
I went to the San Gabriel Valley event, their 30th anniversary, because the COGs all started around the same time. And they had a little video, Colleen's not here. They had a video of past elected like chairs and some of the like governing board that did little videos, and they did that on the screen, and that was kind of cool. So we could do that.
or what's Jerry Brown doing?
You gotta get Valerie to talk to, tell her story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment, a great success piece that we should,
Yeah, last.
highlight, right? And
Well, some of our, we can have like a video, a movie.
Testimonial.
Yeah.
So 30 years was Don Canavi the supervisor when it started?
Oh, yeah, and not only that,
Was.
you know what he used to do? Sorry, MC.
Oh, yeah, he was fantastic.
And he would go around, we would have him go around to people waiting in line for lunch and stuff and you know, and
We scripted
interview
him.
them. He was fantastic.
But he did a great job, you couldn't tell.
He would be good.
He would be good. I didn't,
Yeah, he lives in Cerritos.
the other
And
thing.
Barry, were you the one that sang? We had a.
oh, that's right, we got a singer in the midst, that's right.
Elected official.
Fly me to the moon, let me sail among the
Dan Medina,
stars.
you on the council, we had Dan Medina as our judge.
Yeah,
And at the General Assembly, Dan
I'm not a soloist.
Gardina, and he was
I have standards.
in a band or a
Yeah,
singer.
yeah, he had some.
And-
Back, yeah.
and
When Don Knabe
You
retired,
got a nice voice.
he made up a song to,
Wildfire,
I don't know, some music.
turns out it was a song and he put
all the words for Don Kanabi into it. He personalized it. And it turned out to be Don Kanabi's favorite song. And he talked about it for like ever. It was like the best thing he's
Awesome.
ever done.
Love
And
it.
Dan did that.
Dan is literally a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan still gets paid gigs.
Oh, really?
That was so
You do
incredible.
him regularly on TV and you don't even know it.
Oh, wow.
Maybe you should invite him back.
And
to
is
play music.
Music.
You can have- Maybe we should just have dancing and drinks.
There we go.
And the video going in the background.
Don't forget the disco ball.
Well, we can invite all of our old chairs. I mean, I have
Yeah.
a list of all of the former chairs.
And they could do testimony.
Yeah.
as
They could do-
Would make you want to come. I mean.
Yeah, what would you want to come?
Any ideas of what?
Interested in being there?
General Assembly?
Yeah. What are we talking about?
I think we're all a little toast from yesterday.
Yeah.
Whatever side you're
I'm still
on
waiting for
issues,
updates.
it was a bit exhausting.
And most of our celebrities live in Manhattan Beach. Maybe we should.
Well, sports.
Well, most are sports figures too.
Yeah.
The LA Kings, some of the Lakers, some of the Dodgers.
We
I'm
were
gonna say Rolling Hills has some pretty major people living up in there.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
You got Aaron Andrews,
I do, maybe we should ask,
That's sold.
Abby Wambach. What's his face for the Mavericks? Used to play for Golden State.
we
Jackson.
should ask B, because I remember when I presented their climate action, plan,
Oh, Clay Thompson.
they had
He's got a house.
their residents come out and they sounded like they were like in the, industry or something, so.
What's interesting about Sterling Hills, though, is don't people live there to not be known?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes and no, right?
Well, anyway, David and I could really use your help.
States
Something
from,
you would like to really see here.
right?
And that we're gonna be doing that in earnest now.
Daughters on the volleyball circuit.
Just give me some like.
It's fun.
Are there, just to moving on, and
That'd be good.
I sent you out, what is this? I didn't hear how much, something good?
Ben Swan. Ben Swan, dude. He lives in Wedding Crutcher.
Vince Vaughn,
Who?
Vince Vaughn.
Who is Vince Vaughn?
You'll know him when you see him.
Yeah.
He's a local. He's got a daughter who's a volleyball player. He's on a new TV show now.
Does he talk about anything important?
What do you want him to talk about?
The future?
There you go.
Okay.
It's
So
scripted.
yesterday I sent you all a letter of support from the city of Inglewood requesting a water smart grant application. I actually know nothing about this, but they didn't actually ask the COG to provide a letter. And I didn't know I don't know if you were doing it in your cities and would you like the COG to provide a letter? I just wanted to ask.
We hadn't been asked that I know of. I don't know that the city's been asked.
I sent it to you. I sent it to
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just forwarded it to my city manager.
Okay, so I won't worry about it then. The next meeting is actually December 9th. Why do I have Wednesday, December 9th? It can't be Wednesday. It's gotta be Monday, right?
Mine says Monday.
I'm looking at an old copy. Okay, Monday, December 9th. And that will be a board steering committee meeting. So there won't be a board meeting in December. So everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving and I have nothing else.
So real quickly, this is just me being the chair, but there was this whole thing with the ITC. I just appreciate everybody, whether you voted for it or didn't vote for it. I just appreciate what y'all did with all your input and, you know, the hard work that everybody kind of put into this, thinking about yes or no, or and actually reviewing it and not just saying, well, yeah, or yes or no. But I appreciate and I saw what happened at that last meeting in Dominguez Hills. I thought that was really good that we had that conversation. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yes. If I may add on to that, I share the same sentiment, which is even though I got outvoted, I really appreciated what people said on the other side. And I think it's going to make Inglewood come up with a better project because there's a real reality check that like that is just too much money for that short period of distance. So and I thought, yeah, everybody really gave a great thought and had a real good discourse. So just proud of the club.
Good.
Yeah. So thank you.
Maxine Waters kissed me on the neck, and if she knew who I was, she probably wouldn't have.
You let her though. You let her. So
I did. I didn't know it was coming.
Hindsight.
Einstein, maybe she didn't know who you were. Yeah, now you're in trouble. Yeah,
Haven't washed it.
John, thank you very much for your service to us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I believe this.
Last meeting? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And we,
You'll be at the board.
not the last meeting.
Yeah, you'll be at the board.
seriously,
Yeah. No, this is where the action is.
we appreciate you.
Okay.
Mission.
Anybody else for the good of the order? No, we stand adjourned.
Okay.
All righty.
Carry on. Thanks, everybody.
My wayward sons, there'll be peace when you